Welcome to the 41st podcast of Store Bitcoin. Today we're at recording at Lugano at Lugano Forum B plan. We have our guest, Jöel Lenz. He's
Hi.
head of communications, and yeah, we're gonna talk about Bitcoin, Relay, and also welcome to Francesco and Alessandro.
Hi, Jon.
Hey.
Hi, Joel.
Hi,
Nice
nice
to
to meet you.
nice to have you in the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for inviting.
So
Yes.
let's kick off. Tell us about Relay. What is it? You know, it's a Bitcoin only company selling Bitcoin, but please tell us more about it.
Yeah, it came about from Julian and Adam, both our co-founders, wanting an app in late 2019 to buy Bitcoin. Both of them bought on Kraken, Coinbase, the exchanges we know. And there was no app. We're like, well, we could continue buying there, but they have all of these other coins. We're not gonna deframe them now. We just call them other coins. And we need something where you buy only Bitcoin. Ideally, you can set up a savings plan because of the purchasing power increase you have with Bitcoin. So if there's no app around, we'll just build it ourselves. They raised a little bit of money from friends and like family, and then the app gained traction. Started hiring more people. Suddenly, we became one of the bigger Bitcoin-only apps in Switzerland. And about 3 years ago, we started seeing where the market is going, that you have the regulation. And we then said, well, looks like we also need to go after Europe. And the Mika framework came in. So we started setting up everything quite early and have been working on this for like 2.5 years now. And as of today, when we record, yesterday, we finally made the announcement that we have the Mika license now. So we can now be the Bitcoin only app for Europe and not only Switzerland and Italy like we used to be.
That's great. Congratulations on the Mika.
Yes, it was cumbersome work, but we got it done in the end, and we're happy to get going now.
Yeah. Alessandro.
And yes, thanks, Joel, for the introduction. How has been this cumbersome work? Which was the challenges to get this Mika?
Yes, so Julian had quite an extensive talk on Thursday where we spoke about what it takes to get Mika, and you just saw, I mean, I don't know how many pages we had, 10,000 pages in total, over 270 revision rounds, a constant back and forth with the French regulator. We decided to go to France because Mika was basically built on that framework. And it's just a lot of compliance work, a lot of lawyers involved. You need to set up an advisory board. You need to think about your business model. We actually also had to change it halfway through to a locked price model, which is good for the users. If they hit buy, they can basically get one thing going. And yeah, that's what it all took. In terms of costs, Julian shared it also. It's roughly about €1 million
Per year?
So, for the whole application.
Okay, for the application, yeah.
So it is the question whether startups can afford it if you now start up as a startup. So you need a lot of funding for that. And I think everyone who works in finance understands compliance is always a heavy workload. But in the end, we got it done. We calculated it. It's about 19 books we wrote in total, with texts and contracts and everything we had to send in. But our compliance team did really a phenomenal job. We, in my opinion, have the best legal team, and the best compliance team was able to help out. They don't always get the shout out in the community because, with Bitcoiners and compliance, it's always a tough topic.
Yeah.
But they really performed. And for us in marketing, it now means that we can actually start market the app in Europe, in the entire EU. Once there's like a technical feat, which is called passporting. So we have to tell them which countries we want to serve, and then they'll just connect with each other and we'll get everything sorted. But yeah, a lot of legal work, a lot of long nights for a lot of people involved, and a certain cost that comes with it, yes.
Yeah, I have been in Bitcoin long enough to remember when, especially in Italy, Relay was the favorite vehicle to buy without KYC, but then regulation come. You have a huge market in Italy. Yes, I can confirm. And I'm wondering how much the user growth went year over year in before Mika and after Mika. Do you see any slowdown brought in by the regulation in Bitcoin purchase in Europe. This to understand not your personal number as a company, but to understand the impact of the regulator on the overall market, if you can share.
Sure. So we actually haven't seen a slowdown. We still have seen a growth we've seen in the years before. Not as much as we had in the past 2 years, obviously, because we in marketing especially really had to lock down everything. So we couldn't promote our referral programs in countries outside of Switzerland and Italy. In the mean part, we got a license in Italy as well, so we at least could go in the second country. Now at Mika, this is also done and covered. The demand, surprisingly, was there, not from retail, more from businesses who also started to realize it's a great cash alternative on our balance sheet. It's a great inflation hedge in a long-term perspective. And yeah, that from that regard, I would say there wasn't a slowdown. What you definitely will see is, unfortunately, more of a centralization. Companies who obviously had no KYC before, like us, we were then guided by the regulators both in Switzerland and obviously with Mika to implement the AML rules. So this is the price of business you have to do. And that was the part where we actually knew from the beginning there will be a moment where this will be implemented. You also now see it with companies such as Pocket or the other Bitcoin-only brokerages like Coinfinity, Bitter, or 21 Bitcoin that they have to implement this. What we haven't seen yet is really the retail push. So this is a weird bull market. Or maybe it's not yet the bull market, we don't know. But we're certain, you know, if things, economically speaking, just don't get better, they will look for alternatives. And really Bitcoin, maybe to gold, if you're a boomer, is the only one where you say, okay, we need to go in there. What we did see is a little bit of a drop-off, obviously, in users who used us because of non-KYC. Yeah, that was sort of the price of business again we were anticipating, and yeah, it was the thing to do.
Very fast. So yes, if they set the regulation for it's valid for any company, including you, so that it's just a matter of people willing to buy Bitcoin or not. My opinion, buying but it's not to be called a bull market until retail comes. So we hopefully gonna see.
I mean, sometimes we saw like we saw the spike, and like you can obviously see in terms of like how much they buy. We saw certain spikes in the end of summer, now in fall, where it was like, is retail maybe coming now? But then obviously they're so price fixated that you would see like the price would drop because Trump said something, or like whatever happens. And then that would go down a bit. But we really saw the continuous growth in the business sector, especially.
Regarding the enterprise offering, what's your approach? Do you wait for the customer who are in terms of businesses who are already knowledgeable about Bitcoin and give it the instrument, or you also have a sort of campaign or reach out to treasury manager or to entice them into Bitcoin? So what's your approach on that?
Until now, we did it in two ways where we could, because of the regulations, Switzerland and Italy, we were actively reaching out. So surprisingly, we had a lot of real estate investors, companies, but we also saw family offices, especially since it's about Bitcoin ETFs, that they went like, okay, we can buy the ETFs, but we also want to hold the real thing. That was just naturally them finding us, and we expanded it. Where we could in the countries approach them, we definitely went for treasury owners, heads of treasury, stuff like this. And now with Mika, we just can actually go after the markets like Germany, France, and we can actively approach them. And we can now also host events, for example. This is something we did quite intensely this year in Switzerland and Italy. So we invited certain sectors. We gave them the perspective of, hey, you know, if your business is doing great, like you don't actually need Bitcoin if you have enough left over, but think of the next 10, 20, 30 years. If you keep that cash reserve, or even if you have it saved in gold or something, you know, it does perform, but you know, there's a better alternative. And that really helped us with getting these businesses on board. And then obviously you have the Bitcoiners in the family businesses who go to their parents and say like, you know, it's time.
Yeah. So you have seen growth on that sector.
Yes, extremely. I don't have the correct number, but I know that it's above 300% is zero loan. And we actually had to expand our sales and business and private team, where we also offer it for high net worth individuals. Used to be 2, now they're 4. maybe 5 soon. So we definitely see the increase there. And yeah, we've also continuously added people in the background, developers, etc. We also launched a web app last year in Lugano. Sort of the internal joke in the company. Every time we come to Lugano, we have a big announcement. So we're looking forward to next year. We don't know how we can top Mika. And yeah, these things just continuously help to also make the whole process a little bit easier.
Yeah. When you talk about like personnel expansion, you had a $12 million funding, and I think Ego Dev Capital, backed by Preston Fish, Lynn Alden, Jeff Booth, they backed you with 4 million, or yeah. So how is it to work with a company like an investor like Ego Dev Capital? I can imagine that's really unique with that you get help from Bitcoiners.
Yes, extremely. So our investors include EgoDev with Jeff Preston, Lynn Alden. We also have Andy Pitt, who's really working closely with us. She's also one of the general partners. And in all honesty, it's refreshing. They understand Bitcoin, they understand our business model. And it's cool to see for us because we're a European company. They are obviously very American focused.
Yeah.
And it helps to continuously get that American push, because I think where we are Europeans need to learn from Americans is just how much they step on the gas,
Yeah.
and how much faster they can move. Obviously, we're a bit like in between with like the regulation stuff in Europe. But we also have great investors like Fulgur Ventures. We also have the Plan B fund, which they established together. We have Moss with his Lightning accelerator.
Mark Moss.
No, Moss. Shit, I forgot the name now. Lightning Ventures. Thank you.
Lightning
Yeah,
Ventures.
there we go. So yeah, we just have overall great investors, Bitcoin focused, hyper laser focused. We also have a tech VC out of Switzerland in Red Alpine. They're also really pushing us from the tech growth side. So they have over 30 years of experience there. And everyone is really also lining on, okay, we get it, why you're Bitcoin only. The argument makes sense, you know, fiat currency devaluing. They need a simple interface. We especially target newbies. So of course we have the maxis, but we want to make that buying process as simple as possible. And they've just been a great help also with the whole compliance thing in getting Mika. So we couldn't have better investors. And yeah, just as like Bitcoin and the community grows, they've also grown with us.
Yeah, okay.
And in terms of age demographics, which is the age demographic, which generation, millennials, Gen Z, Gen X?
It's surprising. We have two main groups. So the retail side of thing, which is our app, the strongest one in terms of volume, buy amounts, and recurrent buys are millennials. So anywhere from 25 to like 42 is sort of the age demographic. And it's a typical thing. We do a lot of user reviews and stuff. It's just, you know, I will be getting money. I'm earning well money now. And like, why should I invest in stocks or anything if I'm not sure about the evaluation of everything? And then the second group is really, I would say, the 45 to 65-year-olds. Yes, exactly. So the Gen X, even we can even get into some boomers and stuff, where they have maybe real estate. In December 23, we saw a large request by Gold Bucks. They went like, well, Peter Schiff has been wrong. I cannot make the joke, they admit to their mental illness. But they went like, we need to have Bitcoin. And this was more the older demographic. So the higher amounts are in that age group. And I would say the quote unquote lower amounts, maybe up to 100K, is more in the millennial group, which is great to see, because let's face it, all of us millennials, we need an alternative, and we need to have something to safeguard the future.
And also we are all millennials. We are all in the generation where we start to have savings, and we are young enough to be curious about younger than Gen X. So we are more curious about new technology. So I confirm that probably millennials, we are in the sweet spot. I always say in some years they will call us lucky, but the only luck we had was like to be a millennial in the time of Bitcoin. Then it was on us to study Bitcoin.
Exactly, and you know, because we are self-custodial in our app, it comes with a few challenges, of course. So we don't see the challenges with millennials because we've been used to our smartphones, we've been used to technology. We see it more in the higher age demographics, but now also our product team built a great web app where people can connect their hardware wallets. They have their contact points if they need that, and we really have the possibility also there to, as the tech grows and it becomes easier to then also offer this to our users. And this is really also one of the great things with working in Bitcoin. You just keep up to date with what's happening and you try to build as fast as possible.
When you were saying about the interest, now we have both institutions and retails. So retails are the missing group of this year, right? Also, you said it's like a weird bull market.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
2025 it's not really bull market. It's
No,
a bull average, let's say. Do you think also for us is the quietest all-time high? Every time
Yeah,
all-time high, no one is calling us saying.
I was, you can ask my team, I was swearing so often in our internal communications, like we hit like the 6th all-time high in like 10 weeks. I reach out to the media because this is also a big part of my job with having worked in the media in the past. And they're like, you know, it's another all-time high. Like maybe we'll cover it. I'm like, you don't get it. Like if you would have covered it a year ago, you would have actually done your readers a favor. They would have seen it earlier enough. And yeah, for some reason, it's just they're not catching on. I don't know if they're, you know, bothered by just other stuff going on with all of these wars. It's just not an urgency for them. But again, you know, as you said, the craziest time with retail is always towards the end.
Yes.
Maybe this is just ahead of us, or maybe this is really the first bull market where we said like, okay, it's been institutional and business driven, and retail will maybe catch up in the next one.
True. Also, if you think it's anyhow retailers now the market is stable, but in over year we are still plus 80%, 90%.
Yeah,
so TradFi investor barely no one will do this, but still not so much interest. When do you think will come? Which price should we hit? 150, 200, 500?
I don't know. I mean, we also saw this when we crossed the 100K mark. We really thought this is the moment where retail would get in. And we just got a lot of feedback then when I went like, now it's too expensive. Even though we do the education stuff with like, you know, you don't need to buy one Bitcoin, you can buy $100, you can buy $50, whatever. So that could be one of the key things. I personally feel like it has nothing to do with price. It's just when the urgency is big enough. So when they really see, shit, we have again 10% inflation. Another bank goes bust. I don't know, with this whole AI boom thing, like it's definitely made our life simpler, but kind of feels like in the .com area again. Maybe all of these factors at one point add up to them going, shit, now we need Bitcoin.
We need, yes, because at the moment you said it right. Like now in the West world, it's not that we really someone was really need. In reality, we need to save our money to keep saving, but it's not an immediate need that without Bitcoin you cannot go on with the life.
Yes, and I mean, like you see it, we get so quickly used to. I remember talking to a friend a couple of months ago. I told him like, this is crazy. The central banks talk about the 2% inflation target is not viable anymore. Maybe 5%, and they went like, yeah, you know, okay, I just need to work a little bit harder. Like you have the tool to outbeat this and to have peace of mind, but they adapt so quickly to these circumstances. It just maybe needs to be higher. I don't know.
Probably is also the curiosity. I also was impressed. Like since the 90s, they are saying 2% target is one of the main goals, and now they start to. They didn't say explicitly, but they start to say economy and labor is more important. So if it goes wrong, then we don't care anymore about the 2% inflation. So what will be consequent? Increase the target. Theoretically, you should say, okay, people say for 30 years they said 2%. Now they say it's not valid anymore. Should ring a bell, but it's not doing.
Yeah, it's like this meme you see with like the water thing, which has multiple holes, and they're just patching the holes that leave water the fastest. But they're still not realizing if you don't patch the smaller holes, the bucket will also become empty at one point. So who knows? I mean, we also see these initiatives with like the Czech National Bank. They're being vocal in the summer. I mean, it's a Trump thing with like the treasury stuff in the US. So who knows what's happening there? But I think slowly we see this evolvement of like the central banks at one point also realizing.
We'll see Luxembourg.
And there was a big news that sometimes in the Bitcoin
so
world
there are all allocation.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, again, you know, we all say this, like you don't need to start full on committed like we do, but 1% is enough. And then you get into 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you start taking seriously. You go like, oh, we can actually also do more. So if this is the start we need, I'm perfectly fine with this. And yeah, we'll see what goes on there. But I'm hopeful. You know, everyone is sort of pessimistic in Europe, and I go like, we have the orange pill, we have the possibilities, and yeah, like I said, maybe it just needs a little bit more pain.
I saw a post from Relay from June this summer that you helped the first European public traded company self-custody their Bitcoin. Can you tell which company that is or no? And are they already doing it? Because I thought all the public traded companies are doing the like an external custodian because of like compliance. But I'm really interested in the case because I think in a utopian world, I would like to see all the companies, but uh, hopefully most will go away from the big Coinbase honeypot stack to self custody. So maybe can you tell something about that?
Sure. So I cannot share the name of the
Okay.
company. They deliberately didn't want to do it publicly.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which we said like, okay, you're kind of missing out, but like fine, not our decision. The decision was really, they just looked at it and they went like, now I can plug Bitbolt. There are solutions where a company doesn't have to fear anymore. Like, oh, what if our CFO runs away with the hardware wallet? What if we have a multi-sig and like 3 out of 5 people die or something like this? There are these solutions in place now where I think when we, for example, compare strategy when they started, that wasn't in place. Plus, in the US, it's a little bit more difficult for them. But I actually see, especially with publicly traded companies in Europe, and we have the whole secondary, third-tier market. They have the possibility. They just decided to go with self-custody. It was a multi-sig setup, and it was a little bit more of a cumbersome approach as well because of compliance again.
Yeah.
You need to onboard really everyone involved, so that was a longer project for us as well compared to how we usually onboard businesses. But this is like the first domino that falls, and if they then go to their general assembly meeting and then they orange pill their shareholders, or if it goes even further and they have industry lead in talks and they talk to other companies, this is how it gets going.
And maybe it's more cumbersome, but the foundation is stronger.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Also within the company.
Yeah, we were also able to take the fears away because a lot of the work we do is education. So we had to explain to them like multi-sig has many different facets. You can do different hardware wallet brands and you create a multi-sig. You can go with something that, like, for example, on-ramp does, where you also have institutions involved in it. Or you can really go as simple as with a tap signer or something like this. So there are multiple ways of getting it done. And for them, really, the moment was like, oh, so it's not just a treasure or something laying around in our CFO's office. It's actually the possibility also to distribute it across multiple offices, even multiple countries, which wasn't the case in this case. But you also have this geolocation freedom that you can enjoy with it. So that was their moment, and then they went with it, and we were happy, and we're hoping now also with Mika that we can go after more of these types of companies who are maybe not hugely public companies, but they have realized what they can do, and can then use Bitcoin to as much as their advantage.
Yeah, and thanks for the mention. We are also seeing many possibilities to use mini script for business policies, and they can be so easy to set that it can be really compliant because in the Bitcoin script they have to see the private keys, and regardless on oppositely on the mini script they have pass compliance very quickly. So that's really big word in terms of self-custody for companies which is not explored yet. It's because the number is still low. I mean, we need more expansion of the market. You answer a keyword, which in my opinion also as a wallet builder is education. So I can understand maybe what we are witnessing now is that smart money is piling in, like companies, people have a financial background, or investors, or even the one who buy ETF, they know what they're doing. How do we approach the retail, the unaware people? What's the program in terms of education with the Relay puts on? Of course, if they leave the email on the website, that's already a hook. But for people who are unaware, even in terms of public marketing, I saw some roll-ups there and some signs, electronic. how do you think? What do you think is the best way to get people interested in Bitcoin?
Yeah, so we break it down into 3 aspects. One is the public stuff you said. So we do a lot of out-of-home campaign. If you've been in Lugano, you did see our ads. And we always approach it with not with like you're missing out on Bitcoin or it's the best performing asset. It's just like Bitcoin is here if you want to buy it. This is Relay. Use the QR code. Very simple messaging for them. Bad moments, crisis, bank failures help. So we saw a huge spike with the Swiss failure of Credit Suisse. People were signing up like crazy. They were buying in larger amounts. They got that aha moment like, oh, the bank could go bust any moment now. But if I hold my own Bitcoin in my keys, nothing is going to happen. That's a secondary thing. So we prepare, we have sort of our back pocket things. We have the running joke, like, you know, if the bank goes bust, we are ready to immediately post. So that is always there. It sounds a little bit unfortunate because obviously people in these situations lose money, but I think this is the best education moment for them.
It's the hot stove.
Yeah, I mean, like everyone who's been in Bitcoin long enough, how many people's lost coin on Mt. Gox or something? So this was the moment where you went like, oh, I should go into self-custody. That is the second leg. And the third leg is really just making it as simple as possible to understand economic principles. What is inflation? And we're not doing the, you know, the lecture talk, like they say it's 2, but in reality it's probably 6 and these things. It's just, here's the graph if you save in euro, here's the graph if you save in Bitcoin, your choice. So a lot of that messaging we put forward. And then obviously the online stuff, I'm also in charge with a great team on our SEO. So if people look up what is Bitcoin, we have the explanatory stuff there. I'm now practiced in front of the camera to create these videos. And even though we said this probably 1,000 times in Bitcoin, it's so important to have this out there. Easy to watch, short and sweet. You don't have to go into the nitty gritty, but you really need to give that simple overview and have as many touch points for people as possible. One great benefit I think no one in marketing in Bitcoin mentions is how well received the logo is.
The logo.
Just if you have that orange dot there and you have the white Bitcoin B on it and you slap this on head there, people actually recognize this brand. So if anyone is working in marketing or he's also contributing by having a podcast like you guys do, the more you put this out there and just that orange color is in the float, the better it is. And the more people will realize like, okay, like it maybe was at like, I don't know, 25K when I last saw it. Now it's at like 100K. There must be something to it. And this is how you can then approach them.
Yeah, if I could suggest my elevator pitch for Bitcoin sales would be volatility beats inflation by Bitcoin. So if you want to take advantage of my, yeah. I mean, there is a difficulty in people don't have time. Should be short enough to capture their attention, but delivering a powerful message to people who are unknowledgeable of the things. But in inflation, they all can see. They all can see.
Definitely. And it's really a secret thing, right? Like I remember I left Switzerland a couple of years ago when I moved abroad, and when I got back even this week, I was like, I went to Coop, which is like a retail chain here in Switzerland. I was like, wow, that drink was like 40% less expensive when I last was here, and this was 4 years ago at this point. So just seeing these little things, people start noticing it. And again, if the pain is high enough, they will look for alternatives. And there is really only one alternative, and that is Bitcoin.
So we've got 5 minutes left, so maybe the last question.
Firstly, they need to understand the problem. On one side, versus 2019, 2025, so before the Bitcoin standard, there was not so much material for someone who was, but now there is so much material, it's kind of a pity that retailers are not spending some of their time.
But in all honesty, like we've tested this countless times, long articles, short articles, long videos. You need the snappy stuff. People are so locked in their lives and they need to see the short form content or the simple blog post just to have enough time to actually educate themselves about it.
We had also one episode with Vijay Boyapati, the author of the Bullish Case, and he was saying that every person is obviously subjective, but needs a certain amount of information, amount of times. So after 10 times, you say about Bitcoin, then you meet a colleague, also tell about Bitcoin, then they listen to TV. At one point, this amount will trigger something, maybe will be distracted. My last question will be on Bitcoin versus crypto, because the few retailers that were interested in the last 12 months, maybe when they ask about Bitcoin, is it not the fourth or the third, but the fifth question is about what about this other coin that sounds cheaper? how is with the regulation? They start to understand that Bitcoin is something and crypto was something else. Because in 2021 it was looking still crypto world. Now it's more Bitcoin is something and crypto. Are regulation moving towards this?
It's a mix between both. I mean, I know it sounds bad for a lot of the Bitcoiners out there, but having someone like Larry Fink in an interview saying it's diversification asset and stuff, even though we all know like BlackRock is not making money on holding Bitcoin, they're making money on the fees. That's what they like it. But you know, we all came at one point probably for the monetary returns, and we stayed for the revolution. Same. I used Bitcoin for 4 years as just internet money, and then I realized like, I could actually also save in this. Having that out there helps, but I think one of the more crucial things is just, like you said, they need to burn their hand on the hot stove, and this is unfortunately often with crypto. It could also be with equities. It could be with options, whatever you have.
Leverage,
leverage especially, I think we will see a couple of more cycles where this is just the case. But this is one of the positive things I think with the regulation is you see certain projects not being allowed in the Mika framework, for example, or you have a very high standard to get in there. So in that regard, it helps the consumer. We obviously know it's being overly done, I think, here in Europe. But at that point, you just go, okay, if they start understanding, instead of having like 20,000, you maybe only have 50 as a selection, and the top dog is and will always be Bitcoin. Why should I go for number 2 if number 1 is there? So the combination of the public voices being out there saying, yes, we need this, and the combination of, that small selection of assets really helps. And again, I think we'll see a couple of cycles more where we'll be compared to crypto. But the more we break free from that, the better it will be long term. But people will still want to gamble somehow.
Still some patience is needed. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. It was amazing. My closing message would be: if you find yourself living in Europe or Switzerland, buy Bitcoin or Rely.
Yes, thank you.
And then withdraw to Bitvault. Bitvault is the best self-custody solution because it adds another time at the vault layer protection. So you have a time delay over multi-sig technology, which protects you as a user against any kind of physical attacks or hacks, and just elevates the level of security. You can check it out on bitvault.sb, and you can test the beta for free. It was a really pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you for having me here. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for coming on. And I never had such a nice scene to record a podcast.
I said the Lugano Plan B conference is usually always rainy, and this year we really had the best of weather.
Oh man,
amazing! What can go wrong?
Yeah, good time in front of us. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Goodbye.